The evolution of the game is right now, the level is really high, that's for sure. The new generation is always going to be better than the last generation.
So you think that the peak of this generation is going to be better than the previous one, just because of what you just said?
Yeah, I think if you look the level right now of Yannick and Carlos, they've been crazy high level.
Stan Wawrinka has never been someone who speaks just to create noise. When he says something, it usually comes from experience. And this week in Dubai, he said something that is going to spark a lot of debate. At 40, with 3 Grand Slams and a career built on beating the very best, Wawrinka has seen everything. He's faced Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic in their prime. He's beaten them on the biggest stages. He knows what that level feels like from across the net. And yet, sitting in a press conference room in Dubai, he said something that surprised many people. He said that the new generation, specifically Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, are playing at a higher level than previous generations. Higher even than the era of the big 3. That's not a small statement. When you mention Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, you're talking about the most dominant era the sport has ever seen. Decades of Grand Slams, historic rivalries, a level of consistency that looked almost untouchable. Wawrinka was there. He was one of the very few who could break through that wall. So when he says today's level is higher, it carries weight. He explained it calmly, not emotionally. Not as a criticism of the past, but as an observation of how the sport evolves. He talked about the speed of the game now, the physicality, the way players move and hit from defensive positions. He pointed out how Alcaraz and Sinner are able to generate power while staying balanced, how they take the ball earlier, how they recover faster between points. According to Wawrinka, the baseline exchanges today are more intense on average, the depth is heavier, the rhythm is faster, and the margin for error is smaller. Coming from someone who played peak Djokovic in Australian Open Finals and peak Nadal on clay, that comparison hits differently. He didn't say the big 3 were not great. He made it clear that their achievements are historic and probably untouchable in terms of numbers. But he suggested that if you compare pure level, shot for shot, rally for rally, the game has moved forward, and in a way, that makes sense. Every generation builds on the previous one. Federer brought elegance and aggressive timing. Nadal redefined physical endurance and spin. Djokovic perfected elasticity and return game. The next wave grew up watching all of that. They studied it. They trained with it in mind. Now you look at Alcaraz, he has the explosiveness of Nadal, the creativity of Federer, and the defensive elasticity that reminds people of Djokovic. Then you look at Sinner, clean, relentless baseline pressure, taking time away from opponents with machine-like precision. They didn't appear out of nowhere. They are products of that era. Wawrinka also hinted at something else. The depth of the tour. He mentioned how even early round matches now feel like battles. The physical demand across a full season is higher. Players outside the top 10 hit the ball just as hard. The difference between number 5 and number 25 can be minimal on a good day. From his perspective, the overall level has risen. Of course, this kind of statement will divide fans. There are those who believe the big 3 played in a golden era that can never be surpassed. And in terms of rivalries, storylines, and legacy, that argument is strong. But Wawrinka wasn't talking about nostalgia. He was talking about what he sees with his own eyes in 2026, and maybe that's the key. He's still on tour. He's still stepping on court against these younger players. He feels the pace. He feels the weight of their shots. He feels how quickly they transition from defense to attack. For him, it's not theory, it's physical reality. There was also something reflective about the timing of his comments. This is his last year on tour. He knows he's closing a chapter. Maybe that gives him a different kind of clarity. Less ego, less need to protect his era. He sounded honest, almost impressed. It's rare to hear a player from one generation openly say the next one might be better. Usually there's pride involved. But Wawrinka has nothing left to prove. He beat the legends. He built his own legacy. He can afford to simply observe. And in Dubai, under the lights of what could be one of his final seasons, he looked at the game and said it's evolving. Whether people agree or not, his words matter. because they force a conversation about how we measure greatness. Is it titles? Is it dominance? Or is it the pure level of tennis being played point by point? Alcaraz and Sinner are still writing their stories. They're nowhere near the trophy counts of Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic. But in terms of intensity, athleticism, and speed, they represent something new. And if someone like Stan Wawrinka, who stood toe-to-toe with the greatest trio in history, says the level today is even higher, it's worth listening. Which generation do you think is better? I read you in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. See you in the next one.